Good evening, readers. My name is Charissa, and I am here with Ryan Hale. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Charissa. How are you?
I'm good. We only had a few technical difficulties. It's fine.
Yeah, it's an age thing. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny because one of the things I want to talk to tonight is the technology that's in your books, and you hate technology.
Not a fan. I'm actually a bigger fan of technology than it is of me. So
Aw, see?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but after this, we're exchanging phone numbers so we never ever lose track of each other ever again.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, yeah. I've got
As-
I've got a crank landline right over here. Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me again. This is
My
our second
pleasure.
time talking, right?
Yep.
For everyone who's watching, I am the founder of Charm City Readers. Ryan Hale is the author of so many things, right? I attempted to make a list, but I was like, I'm just going to leave stuff out. So I was going to do highlights, but maybe let you talk about it. Your first book that is not a poetry book was The Year of the Rat, right?
Yeah, I did the memoir first because I knew the subject matter really well, and it helped me understand that I could actually write a book. And then my first fiction was The Year of the Rat.
Which I haven't read, but I do own. So as soon as I read it, I can cross off on my TBR challenge, right? Book I own, but I have not read.
Yep.
And then we talked last year about the Big Coal River series, which
Hmm.
is a it's still 3 books, right?
3 books, yes.
3 book series. We actually chatted about the first one here, so folks can find that on YouTube. But today we're here to talk about the Blake Franklin investigation series, which is your mystery series.
Correct. Yeah, one,
And
one, one of two mystery series. Yes.
well, no, oh, the other one, right? The hair one.
Yes. Wallingford Heights, the hair
Sorry,
one.
I'm very much I latch on to like words and ideas, and
Yeah.
all the words
Mhm.
aren't there. So our goal, everyone who's watching and who will watch, is to read through. I'm going to be reading through the entire Blake Franklin investigation series from 1 to 7 to prepare us for the launch of 8 in October, hopefully, right? Fingers
Yes.
crossed.
Hopefully. Yes. Yeah. Fingers crossed. October 28th is the day I'm hoping to be able to release that.
Okay, I'm writing that down so that way I make sure we go big in Charm City Readers. I previously read 4, so I kind of had a hint, right? You had me arc read 4 or something.
Okay.
Um, and so I read 4, but now I'm going back to the beginning and I'm getting, the fresh start from the beginning of all the characters. So what is your elevator pitch for this series? Like, tell me about this series and why anyone would want to read it.
So Blake Franklin he's a former Fort Worth police officer whose father is actually the chief of police in Fort Worth, who is frustrated by failures to become a detective. And with the help of a rich uncle, he is able to set himself up as a private investigator. And so he's a Texas-based investigator. I see him as like a Magnum PI that drives a pickup truck rather than a Ferrari. And so he sets up a small office and starts to work on solving some crimes.
And I think you said Magnum PI, and it totally threw me because Magnum PI was the 80s, right? Was it the 80s or the 90s?
It was, I think it was the 80s, and then it came back around in the 2000s, and so it's,
Okay.
yeah,
Like,
it's been
he
running
seems
again.
old to me, like, because I was a child when that
Yeah,
series came out, and now I'm like, wait, I'm 47, so he's my age, right? He's like totally he was maybe younger.
yeah, he might have been. You mean like the original? Yeah, because that was
Yeah,
Tom Selleck, and Tom Selleck is like 85, 86 years old now, something like that. So,
yeah. I think
um,
because when I think of Blake, I think of him as so young, but I guess he's in his 30s.
yeah,
And he's been a cop for a while, so it's not like he was a cop for a half a minute, became a PI, right? He's been a cop.
right, right. Yeah, he after graduating from Texas Tech, he goes into the Coast Guard, and then after the Coast Guard, he joins the police force, and he's been at that. He does that for 9 years, and then decides he's gonna break off and do his own thing.
I love it. And before Charm City Readers, I would have not have considered myself a mystery reader. But the blessing of this community and of meeting people like you is that I'm reading all these books I might not have picked up, and I love them, right? Like, it's so exciting. So like, why mysteries? Is it the story that came first, or did you love mysteries and you wanted to do what you read?
I do love mysteries, and I grew up, like, I watched a lot of television as a kid, and so my favorite shows were like Mannix. You're not going to know any of these, but
Okay, keep
I'm
going.
going to throw them out anyway. Mannix, Cannon,
I know David.
of course Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum PI. So just a lot of cop shows. Longstreet was another one. That was actually a you know that one?
I know the name. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if I could
Yeah,
quote
so
it, but I know the name.
so Longstreet was a blind guy that became an investigator, and Bruce Lee was on that show. I don't know if you know who Bruce Lee
Was
is or not.
Miami Vice police or PI?
They were police. They were Miami cops. Yeah.
I'm pulling from like the back of the stories,
Yeah.
but I grew up. I mean, not grew up as a child, but like on Law and Order, and that's been around for 8 gajillion years.
It has, yeah. They Law and Order, all kinds of different versions of it. I think they stopped at Law and Order Crossing Guards. Bong bong.
We
Yeah,
could use a few of those in my
yeah,
neighborhood. Some Law and Order Crossing Guards. So again, I didn't know a lot about mysteries. Kind of coming into the last few years, and so I was doing some research, and there are like 8 quadrillion. I'm an exaggerator in case you haven't noticed. My quadrillion is not a real number. 8 quadrillion subgenres. And I couldn't decide which subgenre this was. I was like, is it police procedural? Because he has a lot of things from his past life that he brings in.
Parts of it are police procedural, and then some of it is action adventure.
Especially
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, because he kind of works with what he's got and what gets thrown at him. So yeah, but I'd say more action adventure than police procedural. But he does have that background, and he's able to work with police agencies and talk the lingo with them and that sort of thing. So.
Well, and I also, there's obviously a private detective subgenre, which I'm like, sure. But then detective fiction, I kind of think of like Sherlock Holmes, which is like Katie's world, right? Hi, Katie.
Right. Hi,
Like,
Katie.
so there's modern detectives and like, historic detectives.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm digging all of it because I like Katie's books too. I'll just give her a little hat tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If I had a Sherlock hat, I would tip it, or a tip of the pipe or whatever. Yeah. Her books are phenomenal. But yeah, so I grew up watching those shows, and I love them. And so when I started writing, for me, writing is like watching a movie or a TV show. I'm visualizing everything, and I feel more like a director than a writer, because I'm directing the scenes and which way the way the dialogue goes and the way the scenes go. And if something isn't making sense to me, I stop and pull back and change the direction of the scene and that sort of thing. So, and it just flows as though I'm watching it happen. So
who came first? Did Blake come first, or just did the idea of mysteries come first and Blake was created from that?
The idea of doing a mystery and Blake came from that. Yeah. When I opened up my laptop that first day, I just started thinking, what would be a good name for a cop from Texas? And I came up with it, and then I went with his backstory started coming to me, and it just developed from there. And like one only took about 3 weeks to write. So it just
Crazy.
Came at me just crazy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I have a note here because you've told me multiple times that these stories came to you fast. I think you wrote 3 in 1 year. Is that right? Do I remember that?
3 books?
Yeah, 3.
No, 8 books.
What?
8. Yeah.
8. A minute. A minute. Hold on.
Yeah.
Is everyone listening? You wrote. So there are 8 books in the series.
No, there are 7, but I wrote the first. Well, actually, I'm sorry. 10 in a year, but of the mysteries, I wrote the first 5 of the Blake Franklin, all in 2023, and then also the 3 Crossing Big Coal River books, and
in the same year,
and the Year of the Rat. But I mean, I honestly, I was working at it like 8 to 12 hours a day. And when I say work, I use that loosely. It was just sitting down and having fun. Yeah.
My numbers were completely wrong, but my mind is even more blown now because I can't always write a press release like in a day, and you wrote.
Well, those are
Like I
hard.
have to walk away from it, and it's like a page long, and you wrote books. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, that was 2023, and it's only 2025. So in 2024, you wrote how many books?
I wrote 6 maybe, but I stopped because I got involved with a restaurant in August, and I haven't written since then.
Right, we've talked about that. We have that in common.
And I also have a marketing guru who I love and respect, who told me, slow down. You got to learn how to market, because I don't know how to, I couldn't market anything. And so I've got a lot of books, and nobody knows about them. So she said,
there are a
slow
lot
down.
more that are unpublished.
Yeah.
That's crazy pants.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that's sort of why I'm here, right? Because we want to introduce everyone to the series, and get give little ticklers and little teasers. And then hopefully they'll join us, right? And as we move towards the launch of 8, they can jump on and join us, because these are super fun books, and they're not long. I don't know how many pages they are, because I think I have the Kindle versions, but they're not long, but there's so much detail. I mean, it's not like you breeze through a story. In the middle of one story, there are 3 like sub-stories, side stories, in cases happening around, the main storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had to think about what would it be like, if you're trying to operate a new business like that. You're not going to be turning away clients. So as they come, you're taking them on. You're doing the best you can, and you can't forget about those smaller cases that are back home, because they're important too.
Right.
So and also incorporating the talents of the people in the office that he works with, and as the office grows, especially into 2, there's additional characters brought in, and so yeah.
Well, we're going to get to characters in just a second. I mean, we don't have a ton of time because we wanted to keep this bite-sized, but it's so hard. Okay. It's so hard. Okay, so with 1, the storyline mostly revolves around classic cars and fraud. Like, Correct. Are you a car guy? Like, where did that idea come from?
I'm not really a car guy, but I want to be when I grow up. And I love muscle cars. I love like my favorite car is a 66 GTO, and my brother owns one, and my dad owned one when I was a kid. And I told my dad, hey, if you ever sell that, I get first dibs, and he said, I'll never sell that, and then he gave it away. So yeah. So and that relationship right there, that enters into the Blake Franklin thing. He can't seem to please his dad to save his life. So
I know that's actually kind of painful to watch. It's not a main part of the story, because Blake has so many loving people around him who care about him and believe in him. Yeah. But yeah, he is quite disconnected from his dad. And as you mentioned before, all of these at least are based in Texas. That's where you are.
Right.
But not where your whole life was.
Right. And so they don't stay there.
They don't stay there. Well, the first one stays there, right?
The first one does, yes.
Okay, the first one stays there. So Blake, one of the things I love about Blake, especially in 1, is he's a hot mess. He is a hot mess, and you love his hot mess. He's messing up. He is faulty. Like he's I don't want to say he's angering people, but what was it? Who's the DA guy? Starts name. Yes, he's like, what are you doing? Like, be quiet all the time.
Yeah, are you trying to get people killed? do you even have a clue? Yeah.
They're on like the when he's, what's it called when you have the mic, the hot mic, and he's like like, stop talking, like stop. And Blake's going and he's given up too much information to the woman that he's talking to, and yeah. And it's all because he has a heart of gold, but I think it's really nice that we don't have like the perfect guy coming in with the perfect experience, having the perfect outcomes, right? He's messing up, and unfortunately for the reader, it is very humorous and it's entertaining to watch him mess up. And it's also cringy, right? Because some of his things are cringy. But he's a hero, but he's not a perfect hero.
Right. He is an imperfect hero. Absolutely. And so I wanted him to be a white hat kind of guy. And I want the good guys to in my books, the good guys have to win.
Right.
And so yeah, he's a good guy. He's got a lot of respect for women. He loves his mother. He's a good son. He's even nice to his ex-girlfriend. It's like a lot of people would be like, "Ooh, well, why would you do that?" But
okay, so I had a card on that until I realized I had too many cards for you, right? I was like, did you have a really good relationship with your ex-girlfriend? Because how does his ex-girlfriend, she's in there immediately and she ends up working for him and they get along with each other's like significant others. Like that's not common.
yeah, it is uncommon. And I don't know. I don't hang out with any ex-girlfriends. I've been married.
Sorry to your wife if that was offensive. Or
no. I've been married 46 years. So all my exes.
You don't even remember.
None of my exes live in Texas. So
great song.
really,
but
yeah.
I love the strength, because I had that on here, the strength of your women. The women in here are strong. Sharon, who I don't want to give too much away, is in both books.
Right.
She starts off as a client. She ends up like a little tighter into the agency, and she's sassy and she speaks her mind, and you just like her immediately.
Yep.
And
her name is Longstreet, named after a detective on television, by the way.
Oh, see, you do that. You're so good with words. For anyone who's watching, Ryan and I had this conversation before. If you watch the other video we did, like all of his characters' names are like family members and people he knew. And so there's always a story behind it. And that's what I love. I love that. So there are 8 books, 7 published, 1 unpublished in this series. Do you know before you write the book who's coming back in it? Like, when you wrote the first book, were you like, okay, Sharon's a keeper? You know what I mean? Like the DA is a keeper. Like, do you know, or is it as the story is written, they're woven?
It's as the story goes along. Like I didn't know until the end of that book that I was going to hire Sharon.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But she has an airplane.
Which was a real big plus on her resume. So.
But Blake feels bad about it every time he uses it. So
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah. He gets to the place where he feels okay, but yeah, in this one he feels guilty.
By 2, he's kind of comfortable. So you mentioned social media a lot, which again made me giggle because like I know how much you love, marketing and social media, and it plays. I mean, it's not a major character, but it's in quite a bit. Like they're getting leads from social. Someone has to manage social.
Yeah. I was imagining what would it be like if social media was working for me. Wouldn't it be cool? And so yeah, it was a fantasy. So
So you made it work for Blake.
I made it work for Blake. Yeah.
It really did, right? You got a lot of his cases from there. Okay, so I don't want to go long. In 2, so 1 for the money, 2 for the show. As I said, Ryan is great with words. In 2, the story is much darker. Like it starts out, so there's obviously this religious component. There is a faith preacher. No, what do we call it? Faith healing.
Faith healer, yes.
Faith healer, preacher. So there's a lot. I mean, religious overtones, no undertones.
Right.
But it's got kidnapping. People are getting beat up.
Yeah. You get former WWF wrestlers in there that are wreaking havoc, and yeah. So the 2 kind of gave me a chance through Sharon to express my faith a little bit.
I can feel it.
And yeah, there are definitely some religious overtones in there. But then Blake has that healthy skepticism that a lot of readers probably had the same thing, especially when it comes to faith healing and the Bishop Turner types. So I just tried to make it a well-rounded story where you don't just take everything on face value and go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I believe in faith healing. I believe God heals. I don't believe that the guys on TV that are smacking people in the head and
a show is needed, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole premise of it too, for the show, because he wants his daughter to be a part of that, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So
well, I was just thinking, how many people in this whole world would put together a faith healing preacher with a megachurch and WWF retired wrestlers in a single story and be able to connect them? I was like, what? And a dude ranch, snowmobiles. I mean, Like,
Yeah.
where does your brain go?
Yeah. The first place it went was to Pittsburgh, because I knew that I wanted to be cold. And I used to live in Pittsburgh for a while. And in fact, I lived in Squirrel Hill, where it
I was
takes
going to
place.
ask you if there was a connection. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I lived in Squirrel Hill, and my son went to school out at Robert Morris, out by the airport. So.
But you even mentioned Baltimore. Thank you very much. I was like, this is before I knew you, so it's not like good
Yeah.
to me. Or Charm City, right? I
Yeah.
think the pilot has family in Baltimore, and so he
Right.
drops them off, and
Right.
then
They're going to go visit there. Yes.
yeah. So I guess I have to read all the other books to see if Baltimore gets another play.
I don't remember that it does, but
Book 9 it is.
Yes. Wait until Cat of Nine Tails comes out, and then we'll see.
Yeah, see, because DC, Baltimore, there's something there. Ports,
Yeah.
I'm just helping you write it. But yeah, I mean, there's kidnapping, there's hostage situation, there's firearms, shootouts. None of it's too graphic. So for anyone watching, it's not scary, right? But it is like kind of like you're itchy and nervous at how that scene is playing out.
Yeah. There's a lot of action, adventure, and there's some talk about what you're not really shown. Like what he does with the guy at the cabin with his leg and all that. That's talked about, but that was just having fun with the scene. So.
Right. Well, I mentioned one of my favorite things about was your words, and obviously go through the names of all the 7 that are published right now. 1 for the money.
1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, Go Cat Go, 5 will get you 10, 6 Degrees of Desperation, 7 Seals, and then I'm working on 8 days a week. And then after that, I just now said Cat of Nine Tails because that was an original title, but it's actually going to be 9 Lives.
9 Lives. Okay. But see, I love that. I mean, when you wrote the first one, where did 1 for them? You didn't know I'm going to make 9 of them, and these are going to be their names.
I didn't even know that there was going to be a second one, but I just knew that this was 1 for the money, and the whole Carl Perkins thing, Blue Suede Shoes came to mind. I didn't even know about Janet Ivanovich that has a whole series, and the unique difference between her series that she's got 1 for the money, 2 for the show. The difference is between mine and hers is hers are selling. Yeah. That's it.
Brian. It's so fun talking to you because you just dropped these like joke bombs. That one wasn't funny though. Joke bombs. And I have to catch up and be like, wait, oh no, he was kidding about that. He was kidding about that.
Yeah.
But we're going to work on yours. They are going to sell because they're really good. Like I enjoy reading them, and they're not surface. There's just, to your point about directing, there's so much detail there. And I appreciate that because it kind of keeps me hopping. I can't predict what's going to happen because you take the story in about 10 different places during the whole book. Okay. So 1 for the money. In 1, I noticed all of your chapter names had 1 in it. I thought, ooh, he got tired by the end of that. I don't have them written down, but they were all like little cliche quotes with 1.
Yeah. All of them have 1s, and then in 2, I decided because it's got the religious overtones that all of the chapters would be very similar to books of the Bible. So the first one is Gin and Sis, and you can figure out which one that is. But there's like look as opposed to Luke, and there's Matthew and Mark and
there's Ruth. Let there be light. I wrote down a couple of them.
Yeah, there's a tribulation, and there's a due to Ron and me.
Because you're so fun.
Yeah.
And I remember in 4, and we're not going to tease too much on 4, but I remember 4. I feel like every chapter ended with the number 4.
They did. Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so now it makes so much more sense because I'm starting at the beginning, so I'm seeing your little plays on patterns and words.
Yeah.
Okay, we already talked about your strong female characters, which I absolutely love. And I have a note here that like I grew up on Law and Order, which we already talked about. And Olivia, right? Because Olivia from SVU is like
Oh, yes.
iconic.
Yes.
So we want to wrap up or start to wrap up because we said we'd keep these to 30 minutes. I wrote reviews and you haven't seen them. Do you want to see them real quick before we
I
go?
do. Yes, that'd be great.
And afterwards, I'll upload them to Amazon and Goodreads and wherever else you want me to upload them. So you tell me. Okay. So we're going to start with one. Oh, look, it worked. Can you read it? I can read it out loud to you. It's fine. I need to practice my reading skills out loud.
Okay.
One for the Money is a great read. We are introduced to Blake Franklin, a police officer turned private detective. I should have said investigator, who is fumbling his way through his first cases as a PI. Blake has plenty of natural instincts, but is also learning on the job. And the reader watches him make blunder after blunder as he pushes his cases forward. With a motley crew of characters and successes intertwined with failures, this book does not disappoint. One features both a well-developed cast and a dynamic storyline that will keep you engaged until the last chapter. For readers of police or detective fiction and lovers of classic cars and faulty heroes, One and the Blake Franklin Investigation series is a fun ride that will both entertain and leave you needing to read book 2.
Wow. Thank you very much.
I'd like to point out that I had a little rhymey thing in there that I didn't know I did until later, and I kept it in because you're a poet, and I thought you'd appreciate it. Where is it? There, motley crew of characters, successes intertwined with failures. I was so proud of myself for that.
Oh,
Not intentional. Nice. Not intentional, right?
Very nice.
Okay, and this is 2. 2 for the show, Redemption's Deadly Path. 2 for the show, the second book in the Blake Franklin Investigation series, expands upon Hale's diverse cast of characters in 1 to include faith-healing preachers, religious sects, and kidnapping. Blake Franklin, police officer turned private investigator, follows a high-profile case from Texas to the Mid-Atlantic and then to a dude ranch in Montana in this exciting and fast-paced adventure. Blake and his team hone their detective skills despite multiple missteps and miscalculations. Where 1 is Blake's training ground, and 2, the team is thrown into the deep end of the pool. No one is safe. For fans of police fiction, detective fiction, and/or wild storylines where no one is safe, 2 is for you.
Very nice. I love it. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to get there. It's like you do such a good job keeping the characters active and top of mind, but your stories shift so much. And so, like, 2, to your point, is so much more of an adventure than, are we in the wrong one? Oh, this is better. 2 is more of an adventure than the first one. I mean, the first one's good and he's making mistakes and you're fumbling with him. But 2 just, I mean, snowmobile chases. Like, I mean, it's crazy. There's so much action.
Yeah, there is, and introducing the Gil Harwood character and letting
terribly likable in the beginning.
No, not very likable at all. And then Langley's personality coming out more. Langley is the wise guy that I've always been, that ruffles feathers and that sort of thing. Because sometimes wise guys don't know when to shut up and listen. So that's the Langley guy. And then Tinker, of course, is the cantankerous old dude that I have become. And so yeah, a little bit of me and Tinker, and a little bit of me and Langley. So.
And what about Savannah or Angel?
Well, Savannah, I mean, she's just a figment of my imagination, and I just imagine what it must be like for somebody who sincerely loves the Lord and sees what's happening with the whole twisted show that's taking place, and wanting to pull away from that. So
it's interesting because I didn't want to like her because I'm probably a skeptic, right? You know, I'm a person of faith, but maybe not that far. And so I didn't really want to like her, and you couldn't help but be wooed by her a little, you know, when you described how the people around her were reacting to her. You couldn't help. I mean, so the way you wrote it made me interested in her. And I'm like, well, isn't that the whole point? She has collected people around her who, are kind of following her. And what do you know? I'm just reading about her and I'm interested.
Yeah. So when I started writing her character and her situation in Squirrel Hill, I was thinking about initially that it was going to be like a cult.
Yeah.
And then I decided, she's not going to be a cult leader. She's going to be a sincere Christian that's just trying to do the right thing. And so I changed the whole dynamic of that, the way everybody is serving one another, and there's no money changing hands and people getting rich off of it. It's just doing the right thing for the right reason. So her character ended up being pretty fun to write, and there was a couple of things that occurred that Blake and Langley were witness to that I left unexplained for a reason.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I appreciated that, because as much as I was a bit of a skeptic at the beginning, it like kind of left questions for me to think about. And I always like it when books leave these things for me to just sort of brood on. Do you have a favorite mystery writer?
I do. Yeah. My favorite writer in action, adventure, and mysteries is Clive Cussler.
Oh, I don't know if I've read any.
And also there's a few. Clive Cussler and John Sanford and Jeffrey Deaver.
Okay.
Those are all. I mean, I've read everything they've ever written, including Grocery Lists. So.
I want to know how close you got if you were reading Grocery List, Ryan. I mean, you must be pretty tight.
Yeah.
No, that's good, because I find that my writer friends often know much more about their genre and can open me up to things that I haven't experienced yet. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. That's pretty much a wrap. Where can everyone find you? Where can we find your books? Where can they be purchased?
They're only on Amazon, and they're in a local bookstore here in Denton, Texas, which is like right around the corner from my restaurant. So they're as a courtesy, they've got them in there.
The new restaurant, or the new? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
I was going to ask you their name, but can we name drop a bookstore? Is that all right?
Yeah, it's called Patchouli Joe's.
It is not.
Yeah,
no,
it is.
Restaurant.
Huh?
That's your restaurant. I'm at the bookshop, but yeah, name drop your restaurant.
No, the name of the restaurant is 940's Kitchen and Cocktails.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about that bookstore that you said opened around the corner that was like romance.
Oh, that's in the same building that we're in. They're just like 4 doors down.
Yeah.
And that's called the Plot Twist.
Plot Twist is such a good name. Such a good name. Maybe we'll tag them in here so that way we've name dropped them and they can get some extra PR. Okay, so everyone, Ryan and I are going to regroup in a few weeks, 3-4 weeks, as I read 3 and reread 4. But we hope that you will pick up these books, give them a go, and then follow us. Oh, here we go. There's 3. That's my next one. 3 to get ready. I hope you'll join us along the way as we work our way through all of these books to the countdown of the launch of 8.
Thank you so much, Charissa.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, you stay on. We'll say bye to everyone else.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for joining.
Bye, everyone.